evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The so-called queen of contractors, Sara Discaya, has turned herself in. She will stay with the NBI until she's served a warrant of arrest over her alleged involvement in a ghost project in Davao Occidental.
And President Bongbong Marcos puts forth his priority measures for Congress, including the decades-old anti-political dynasty bill and the legislation that will establish a body to probe and prosecute corrupt officials.
And the local currency takes another beating as the Philippine peso sinks to a historic low of 59.22 against the dollar today.
Dito ako.
Magandang umaga po. She voluntarily surrendered to the FBI. Kung i-utilize po sila ng gobyerno para maging state witness, willing naman po sila. Medyo umayaw lang po sila sa WPP kasi napakaraming kondisyon, paiba-iba.
Now, with a looming arrest warrant and police tracker teams on her trail, government contractor Sara Discaya showed up at the National Bureau of Investigation this morning. Her quote-unquote surrender to authorities came after Roma Angeline Rimando, an executive officer of the Discaya-owned St. Timothy Construction, also turned herself in to the Pasig City Police. Our sister show StoryCon had Sara Discaya spokesperson Cornelio Samaniego III in their program. And joining us in the studio to discuss that interview is Bok Ed Lingao, senior editor of One News. Hi, Bok.
You make me sound old.
You are. No. Let's
can
go to
respond
the topic
accordingly.
at hand. I'm older.
Okay.
So, doesn't this come a bit late? I mean, she could have done this before.
Well, she doesn't have to do it yet, and that's also their point. Ang sasabi ni Cornel Samaniego, the spokesman of the Discayas, they could have traveled abroad. Another way of saying they could have escaped, because until now there is no arrest warrant. So there's nothing holding them back. There's nothing forcing them to even turn themselves in at this point.
Oh, so why did they?
As far as they're concerned, it's a way of showing what you might call
Good
goodwill and good,
Like they're cooperating.
cooperation. There you go. Cooperation with the authorities. Their argument was that they were willing to cooperate with the authorities. It's just that they had difficulty with some of the requirements being given to them, like, for example, restitution. Yung pagbabalik ng pera.
Bakit problema yun?
Okay, that's where it gets very interesting. In the course of the interview a while ago,
Sorry, am I asking as if you're representing them? Sige.
I'm just telling what how the discussion went.
Yeah,
Kasi
okay.
we had quite a bit of a back and forth with the attorney. He
Or
was insisting.
spokesperson.
I'm sorry. Kasi at one point he said spokesperson. The other point he said he was representing them. But just okay. Let's call him the spokesman. He insisted several times that the money of the Discayas, the resources, these were all legal. These were not stolen. They were earned through public bidding, through the process. And
Rigged bidding.
well, of course, that's something that has to be proven. And I have to give him that. So the argument of his side was, itong perang ito, hindi ito ninakaw, so ba't natin pag-uusapan ang restitution at this point? There's nothing to return. Which was quite interesting because if you push it a little bit further, they have admitted that they have bribed
Correct.
in the hundreds of millions engineers and the Public Works Department.
And certain
So
congressmen.
if you push that argument further, what did you bribe them with if the project budgets only provide for the project and not for commissions?
Did they
Where
say
did
it
you
was
get the money?
private money?
That's it nga eh. So I was asking Attorney Samaniego, so are you saying that they were getting this money from their savings? You expect us to believe that?
Because that's a lot. Millions yun, Bok, di ba? In
Hundreds
SOPs.
of millions. And actually, he was saying, yeah, it came from their savings. Kasi daw they were quadruple A contractors even before this scandal broke out.
But
So-
where did their savings come from?
Okay, but we didn't get
Also.
there. But my question to him, to Attorney Samaniego, was, so are you telling us that they're taking out money from their own pockets to pay politicians and contractors and not making any money from their contracts? Why are they doing this business?
For charity.
Well, that was the
Yeah,
implication.
because in a
So
business
I don't know if he...
perspective, lugi yun eh, di ba po?
Well, hindi lang lugi, lugi in hundreds of millions. So why are you doing this? So we had that back and forth. So just to be clear, I'm not speaking for them. In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah,
we were-
yeah nga. Yeah.
it was getting a bit sarcastic already at a certain point. Eh. Pero that was the back and forth there. So umabot kami sa punto na, so utang na loob pa namin ngayon.
So, parang maging masaya na tayo na nag-surrender siya. Parang ganon.
Well, to be legal about it, yun nga, they don't necessarily have to surrender yet. Because nga, there's nothing keeping them.
No,
The way
But
he put
there
it
was
nga,
a video though from PBBM. He was saying that we're gonna send tracker teams. So kung ako si Sara Discaya, baka medyo matakot
that's
din
the
ako. That
other
could
thing.
Right?
That's the other thing. And of course, that's also the recourse. Na it's a lot less embarrassing, I suppose, for you to turn yourself in. It shows a bit of goodwill on your part. Kaysa sa you're a subject of a manhunt and then you're found.
That's also what the president said, di ba? Mag-surrender na lang kayo.
Yeah.
I didn't
Or-
realize wala pa palang warrant.
No, if they wanted to be state witnesses, to confess to the entire shenanigan, diba? To
Again, we go back-
detail everything.
But again, we go back to what Attorney Samaniego was insisting, that they did not steal anything. Ito po kasabi niya let's be realistic, sabi niya. Let's be realistic. Gawain talaga sa public works yan. Ang mga kontratista raw ang kawawa kasi sila ang piniperahan ng mga engineer. So sila ang naglalabas ng pera. And contrary to that, he was insisting nga na naglalabas sila ng pera on their own at hindi sila nagnanakaw, hindi sila dumudukot doon sa pot.
Pero bakit sila magiging witness, o malalagay under the witness protection program kung hindi sila partially guilty? Because that's kind of a rough prerequisite of being under the WPP.
I would suppose that's going to be their defense na you have to prove us guilty of pocketing money. Otherwise, all you'd be guilty of is bribery. I know that's still a major offense, but it's different from malversation or plunder, which is a major thing. In fact, in the interview a while ago, Raul Llamas, who was one of our co-hosts, also had that point. Hindi ba sila umaamin na nagbayad sila ng pera sa mga engineer na to? Isn't that a crime? Isn't that bribery? So I suppose to them it's a lesser evil.
Bok, so the cases in relation to the arrest warrant is related to a project in Davao Occidental, right? And the allegation there is it's a ghost flood control project. But the lawyer, I think, maintained it's
He
not.
was insisting it's not a ghost
They have
flood
no
control
ghost
project.
projects,
Yeah,
no?
yeah, that is their insistence. Of course, I don't have any way of verifying that. He was just insisting that as far as the ombudsman was concerned, they did not look at the actual documents that would have proven to their side that the project was never done.
Yeah, I also caught your interview, and the lawyer also said they told all to the ICI. Of course, we never saw that testimony. So,
Well, we're still waiting for that as well.
Pero gusto pa nilang maging state witness. Anong sabi ng spokesperson?
Gusto nilang maging state witness, pero several things. Number one,
Yung restitution ng kanilang issue.
they were interested from the very start daw. It's just that they've talked to so many people and paiba-iba daw yung hinihingi. And the last one was restitution. Number two, only the courts can order the restitution, which is ordering civil liability. Anyway, that's also correct. But also, on the other hand, it's also dependent on the recommendations of the
But if
prosecutor.
they want to come clean kasi, yun ang gawin nila, hindi ba?
Then you go back to the argument that they propounded na we never stole any money. In fact, we're losing money just to be able to do these projects,
I know.
which is
doesn't make business
like I
sense.
told you, isn't that a bit fantabulous?
Oo nga, pero hanggang ngayon pinag-uusapan natin, no, the same, parang we're going through the same cycle over and over. Di ba? What do you think?
Well-
I mean, I've been away for 3 weeks and it's still the same. Nothing has changed. It's even become worse.
Well, yeah, that's a refreshing way of looking at it kasi we've been drowning in this this pit for so many weeks
Yeah,
already.
kasi if you report on it day in, day
Day,
out, di ba,
yeah nga eh.
parang may konting
you get
usad.
inundated or flooded
Yeah,
with
with the details. Pero yun na nga eh. Throw the book. What do you think?
So, yun. What's surprising is that stand or that position that he propounded, I think for the first time kanina, na kami pang lugi dito. Kami pang nagmamagandang loob at kami ngayon ang natutuhog.
So, ang surrender sa NBI is just parang custody ahead.
At this point,
Okay.
because there is no one to. In fact, si Atty. Samaniego was saying, we asked him, so what's your status right now kung wala pang restaurant? Well, she's a visitor.
And the NBI is just willing to...
So does that mean that she should be charged accommodations in the meantime? Kasi until there's an arrest warrant, there is no basis for holding her.
So she's still at the NBI, Bo?
Presumably, Atty. Samaniego said that she will stay with the NBI in their custody until the arrest warrant comes out, after which, of course, you have the process kicking in. The NBI would report to the courts the service of the warrant of arrest.
What about Curly Discaya, Bo?
Well, Curly is still with the
Senate.
Senate.
The Senate.
Still with the
Senate.
Senate, yeah. He has a different case because his is a case of contempt. It's not a criminal case, of course, but it's enough to land him in custody.
Okay, so I guess
So parang pinangungunahan lang nila yung batas in a way, ano?
Well,
Parang ganun.
unahan, I suppose nga in a way as a manner of showing goodwill and maybe pushing forward the
Baka
narrative
may
na,
leniency ng
Oo,
konti
the narrative
kasi...
na we're cooperating with you and maybe we can get something out of this.
so what are the options they're looking at right now for the Discaya couple and for Ms. Romando?
Well, I think that what they're looking for right now is some degree of appreciation of their cooperation. Kasi the fact that sumurrender, if you might use that word, sumurrender yung isa kahit hindi pa naman kailangan at hindi niya pinahirapan yung batas. Kasi
Hindi
you might
hanapin pa
you
siya.
might look at
Tracker
the case
team.
of Dela Rosa, although hindi pa nilalabas ang kanyang arrest warrant, but at this early stage, he's made himself unavailable, as Atty. Torian would say. Diba? So there's that contrast between the two. On the other hand, you also have sa Discaya as, Senator Bato, of course, he used to be a constabulary lieutenant. He rose from the ranks as a second lieutenant. So, sanay yan sa hirap, sanay yan sa
It also
buhay
makes,
bato.
it
I
also
don't know
makes
about
me
the
wonder
Discayas.
why the president would ask them to surrender themselves under the threat of sending out search teams for them kung wala pang arrest warrant. So is it,
Actually,
I guess we can assume it's forthcoming?
The more curious question would be, why would the president announce that an arrest warrant is forthcoming? Because
Right.
that in its own way is already preempting the warrant and giving due notice to the people you're supposed to be arresting in the future. Na if you're gonna hide,
Actually,
you might as well hide
many
now.
of our government officials have been announcing their
Curiously,
moves. And recounting the days, and wala pa din.
Well,
They're giving the public, I guess, hope that, the case will be resolved one way or another.
as Ronald Llamas likes to say, a lot of it has to do with optics and the signaling, and I think you can deduce it from there. A large part of it is the signaling that it provides, not only to the people who are the stakeholders, meaning the people who are the suspects, but the other stakeholders, meaning the public.
The public is the
bigger,
audience, is the bigger...
It's the bigger stakeholder,
Yeah.
and I suppose those moves are addressed to that bigger
Yes.
stakeholder.
to give the impression na umuusad siya?
Oo nga.
Diba?
And that you're in charge, and that you're doing something, and that you're in control. Kasi di ba?
Kumbaga, parang-
ang arrest warrant hindi galing sa presidente yan.
Correct.
Parang sinabi ba ng spokesperson na parang they're seizing this initiative, di ba? Na,
Well, he didn't say directly. He implied it by pointing out their cooperation and the fact that they don't have to do this. So it's only by implication.
And one thing he also mentioned is that the Discayas are apparently financially constrained.
Financially constrained. That's how we ended up talking about so where are you getting all this money to to bribe people left and well, he didn't use the word bribe, we did to pay off all these people, and as he claimed that this is reality. Realidad po tayo, sabi niya. Alam natin yan na pineperahan ng mga kontratista. So doon kami napunta magmula doon sa tanong na how are they doing now with so many assets frozen. But also the question is again, the question is, why are you in this business if you are just paying off people so that
But
the
not
projects move forward?
profiting.
It is out of the graciousness of your heart and altruism.
Abangan natin ang susunod na kabanata.
Okay, maraming salamat, Bok.
Did I get into trouble?
Tatanda na tayo dito, hindi pa rin walang katapusan.
Okay, maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Now on to another story. President Bongbong Marcos seems bent on pushing reforms in government and the country's political system. In today's meeting of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council, or LEDAC, Marcos directed Congress to speed up deliberations on 4 priority measures. First is the Anti-Dynasty Bill, which seeks to curb the concentration of political power within families. The bill, which has languished in Congress for almost 4 decades now, aims to promote fairer competition in public office. There is also the Independent People's Commission Act, which would establish an independent body tasked with investigating corruption, governance failures, and systemic issues. That panel will have enough powers to recommend reforms. The President also asked Congress to look into the Party List System Reform Act, which will overhaul the existing party list system. This is to prevent abuse, tighten eligibility rules, and realign representation toward genuine sectoral groups. The chief executive is also pushing for the Citizens' Access and Disclosure of Expenditures for National Accountability, or Cadena Act. The measure seeks to institutionalize transparency and accountability in the use of public funds. While the Anti-Dynasty Bill has long been pushed by several reform advocates, the inclusion of the IPC Act came after Ombudsman Boying Remulla said that the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, could be dismantled in about 2 months. Meanwhile, lawmakers from the Makabayan bloc had this to say about Marcos's priority measures.
Kailangan ay lubos-lubusan na sana yung ginawa ng Pangulo, diniretso na niya na sinertify as urgent para sigurado na maisa sa batas na rin bago yung break ng Kongreso.
They should have done that a long time ago. Sabi nga natin, yung politikong gipit sa pangakong reforma kumakapit. Sa dulo, hanggat wala siyang action, para sa your word is good, but we need actual action.
And now over at the Senate, the 6.793 trillion peso proposed national budget for 2026 has passed third and final reading. There were no oppositions nor abstentions among all 17 senators present during the final reading of the 2026 General Appropriations Bill, or GAB. Senate Finance Committee Chair Win Gatchalian said the 2026 GAB strengthens government programs. He also assures of a stronger budget process that can withstand corruption through transparency and accountability. From here, the budget will be taken up at the bicameral conference committee level. Sessions will be held at Centro de Turismo in Intramuros, Manila, which is a government facility. This means there will be no added expense to Congress. The BICAM will commence on Thursday, December 11, and will hopefully conclude on December 13 in time for the spending funds ratification on December 22, or the day before session adjourns. At this point, everyone is expecting the BICAM to be live-streamed, but Senators Erwin Tulfo and Ping Lacson said they received information that some House lawmakers are opposed to public meetings.
Yung problema, hindi ako kumukontra. May mga, hindi dito sa amin. Sa House, sir? Sa House, ayaw nila. Kaya sabi nga ng Senator Soto, mukhang magkaroon sila ng diskusyon. Kasi sabi, ba't pinakialaman? Parang gano'n. Bakit lang slash.
So we were told na medyo may resistance. Kasi di ba nagpasa kami ng concurrent resolution, walang counterpart eh. Kami nagpasa namin dito, di ba? So ilalaban namin basta't kailangan live.
Meanwhile, Senate President Tito Soto said there was no resistance to a live stream bicam from House Speaker Boji D. For her part, House Appropriations Committee Chair Mika Swansing insisted that it has always been the lower chamber's stand to open the bicam proceedings to the public.
As early as August, even before the budget deliberations, the House leadership has already made pronouncements with regard to opening and live streaming the bicam. Senator Win Gatchalian and I are already talking about how to operationalize the live streaming of the bicam.
Well, going back to the Senate, it has released the names of senators who will sit in the budget bicam meetings. Senator Win Gatchalian is the chair, while majority senators who will be present are Mark Villar, Pia Cayetano, JV Ejercito, Loren Legarda, Kiko Pangilinan, and Camille Villar. Also sitting in are senators from the minority bloc, including Bongo and Amy Marcos, and Bato Dela Rosa, who has been absent since sessions resumed. Senator Jinggoy Estrada has backed out from the bicam.
And speaking of Senator Bato Dela Rosa, his legal counsel maintains that his client is not in hiding amid reports that a warrant for the lawmaker's arrest has been released by the International Criminal Court or ICC. Attorney Israelito Torreon maintains that Dela Rosa just wants clear guidelines either from the government or the Supreme Court on the legal process of the ICC warrant, particularly his rights under Republic Act 9851 or the Philippine International Humanitarian Law. The senator's camp claims the law lacks implementing rules and regulations or IRR on the surrender by the government of the accused to the ICC.
Kasi wala pong batas na dito sa ating bansa kung ano yung magiging procedure, ano yung magiging rights niya under the surrender aspect under Section 17 of 9581. He wants to be guided so that he will also know how to exercise his rights under the Philippine Constitution and under the rules on criminal procedure.
The Justice Department had already said that the Philippine International Humanitarian Law does not need an IRR since it is self-executing. It was the same provision used in the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. The Justice Department also clarified that they have yet to receive any arrest warrant issued by the ICC against Dela Rosa, who is being tagged for his participation in the Duterte drug war. Earlier today, Senator Robin Padilla gave this piece of advice to Senator Bato, and that is to, quote, never surrender to a foreign power.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, transport authorities and advocates held a walking inspection of Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or EDSA, today from sidewalks to walkways. What they found out next on The Big Story. Keep it here on One News.
The Big Story is back with the latest from the commuting and transport front. Transport Group Manibela kicked off its 3-day strike with a caravan to the LTFRB today. Manibela President Marval Buena said this is their last resort to get the government's attention against supposed excessive penalties and non-renewal of franchises. An estimated 40 to 45,000 jeepney units in Metro Manila are expected to join the protest. Meantime, Piston held a protest vigil at 3 p.m. in front of the LTO Central Office to demand the release of all PUVs impounded during the November 30 anti-corruption protests.
Meantime, the LTFRB is poised to issue a memorandum imposing penalties on taxis and TNVS drivers who often cancel booked trips due to traffic, distance, or other unjustified reasons. It will be a 5,000 peso penalty for first offenders and franchise revocation by the fourth offense. The LTFRB will also create a hotline for the public to report erring and abusive drivers. Operators will likewise be required to submit lists of drivers with frequent cancellations.
And still on the LTFRB, or the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, it has declined the petition of jeepney drivers and operators to implement a fare hike of 1 to 2 pesos. The LTFRB cited the big-time rollback last week, which was from 2 to 3 pesos per liter. Transport officials also said a jeepney fare hike would result in 2 years of high inflation in the country.
And Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon and DOTR Acting Chief Giovanni Lopez conducted an inspection of EDSA sidewalks this morning. Together with the Move as One coalition, they walked a 4.4-kilometer stretch of EDSA from Ayala Avenue in Makati to Rojas Boulevard. This is a test of the walkability and accessibility of EDSA to commuters and pedestrians. Now let's see the findings from that EDSA walk from Abigail Modales, Active Transport Lead of Move as One Coalition. Good evening to you, Abigail. Welcome to the Big Story.
Good evening, Maxes. Magandang gabi po.
Kamusta naman ang paglalakad ninyo, ang experience? Marami ba kayong nalanghap na usok mula sa traffic ng mga kotse at bus?
Marami pong nalanghap na polusyon dahil naglakad po kami during rush hour, Ma'am Ses.
So bilang pedestrian, marerecommend mo ba ang paglalakad sa EDSA?
Isa lang po ang naging malinaw, mas naging malinaw during our walk earlier this morning. Hindi po ligtas at hindi accessible ang paglalakad along EDSA. Ito na po ang regular na karanasan ng bawat commuter at pedestrian na bumabagtas sa EDSA araw-araw sa papasok ng trabaho at pauwi sa kanilang mga bahay. Pero we confirmed even more kanina po na hindi siya ligtas at hindi po accessible lalong-lalo na sa mga persons with disability.
Ano ang mga pinakabuwis buhay na nakikita ninyong mga hamon sa kaligtasan ng mga kababayan natin?
Naku, Ma'am Ses, marami po kaming naranasan kanina. Ngayon po, pinapakita niyo po sa video yung isa po naming kasama. Siya po si Doc Mao. Siya po ay bone cancer survivor at amputee. And she opted to use the wheelchair throughout the whole 4.4-kilometer walk a while ago. And there were many instances where naglalakad po siya sa kalsada mismo, katabi ng mga rumaragasang kotse at motorsiklo. At may isang beses pa po kanina na when we were crossing the street gamit po ang footbridge, dahil wala pong rampa, kinailangan pong buhatin ng 5 tao si Doc Mao na nakasakay sa wheelchair. At mangilang-ilang beses po ang mga nawawalan po ng balanse at nakita po natin na hindi accessible at hindi ligtas para sa mga persons with disability at para na rin sa mga caregiver na nag-a-assist sa ating mga kababayan na nasa sector ng disability.
Okay, Abigail, last May, no, ginawa nyo na rin itong EDSA walk na ito. Wala bang nangyari since then? What prompted this second set or itong second round of EDSA walk?
The first round of the EDSA walk was from 1 Ayala to Monumento po. So ngayon, this time, the second stretch, pabaligtad naman po from 1 Ayala to Rojas Boulevard. During the first EDSA walk that happened in May, there were low-hanging fruits that were accomplished or were pursued by the then Secretary Sec Vince Dizon. Katulad na lang po ng within the day, may mga nakita po siyang mga man lifts na hindi gumagana, mga rampa na may mga barikada at hindi naman magamit ng mga persons with disability. And within the day, na-resolve po iyon. But this time, for the second EDSA walk that happened, that's until Rojas Boulevard, this is more on for the long-term planning. Of course, there were identified po na low-hanging fruits ulit, mga short-term solutions that we can immediately pursue. But the ultimate goal here is to create a long-term plan, a long-term solution that DPWH and DOTR is going to jointly pursue in the early quarter of 2026.
Actually, Abigail, going back to that first walk na you did back in May, one of the observations of then DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon was the lack of sidewalk. Sabi niya, patay ka dito pag tinamaan ka dyan kung maglalakad ka lang. And he proposed a 3-meter shared bike and pedestrian lane. Did that come to fruition? What came out of that walk back in May?
That's right, ma'am. It's one of the proposals and also one of the things that were discussed after the walk. And this was also included in the consultations that were done with Palafox. So currently, meron pong active transport strategic master plan that the DOTR is pursuing in partnership with Palafox as its consultant, and it's one of the things that that is being included in the active transport strategic master plan. Ito pong disenyo ng mga pathways or shared lanes with bicycle users and pedestrians.
For how long will that take, Abigail,
Yeah.
ano?
Before you answer, kailangan pang intayin yung rehab ng EDSA, di ba? Parang ganun yung pagkakaalala ko na postpone, di ba?
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be an overhaul of the EDSA, and we opposed the rebuilding of EDSA early this year, way back in May or June. That's why we had the first batch or the first EDSA walk that happened. It's because the EDSA design or the EDSA rehabilitation is based on a design that does not have pedestrians and commuters in mind. So we said, before we do an overhaul of the whole stretch of EDSA, since we're pouring public money on this and we're putting in a lot of budget for this, then the design should be people-centric or commuter and pedestrian-centric, and not only having cars in mind when they do the design. So that's why the EDSA rehabilitation was postponed, to plan better for the transition and to plan better for the design that's going to be undertaken.
Well, one easy thing, I think, no, I've walked some stretches of EDSA and sobrang dami. Alam mo yung base ng mga poste, ng mga ilaw na that don't exist anymore. Parang tatanggalin nila yung poste, pero yung parang pinakasementong base niya or yung mga naiwan na mga poste from waiting sheds, pati yung mga urinals from before that I'm not sure are functioning. Did you see any of these today, and what are the plans? Those are easy.
Yes, there were a lot of posts, katulad po ng sinabi niyo, ma'am. Napakarami pong poste na nakaharang mismo, na nakabalandra doon sa pathways where people should be walking and persons with disability should be able to access. And isa po yun sa paulit-ulit na tinignan at pinoint out, especially ng mga architects and engineers that were both present from the OTR and DPWH. So there were plans to immediately contact the owners of or the builders of these posts, whether it's an electric company or telco company. Agad-agaran daw po na kakausapin or makikipag-connect with. And not only that, the audit also stretched the 5 senses. So napansin din po natin sa maraming bahagi na dinaanan at nilakaran, napakabaho, napakapanghe, at hindi talaga conducive para sa mga naglalakad. So isa din po yon sa low-hanging fruits to pursue, to ensure that there is cleanliness, para naman kapag naglalakad yung mga commuters natin, hindi po pagdating sa kanilang mga trabaho ay nahawa na po yung damit nila sa baho ng dinaanan nila.
May isa pang issue, Abigail, no? Ang taas nung bangketa or nung sidewalk mismo.
Yes,
Like,
ma'am.
even me na mobile akong tao, alam mo yung para siyang gym move pag iaakyat mo siya, bababa ka, tapos aakyat ka, di ba? Tatawid ka ng driveway. May solusyon pa ba for that? Because that's really hard. Kahit maglagay ka ng wheelchair ramp, ang hirap naman akyatin nun. At delikado rin yung pababa.
Dito po natin nakikita na ang current po ng mga infrastructure natin ay taliwas o hindi nakasunod sa ating accessibility laws, specifically the BP 344, which had an updated IRR last year in 2024. At makikita po natin dito na outdated na po talaga yung infrastructure natin. And not only are infrastructures updated, pati rin po yung mga manuals, nakita natin that the manuals were released and published way back in 2012 pa. So napakarami na pong naging update sa polisiya natin at sa accessibility laws natin na hindi na po nire-reflect nito yung universal design that is accessible for all people with different kinds of abilities and mobility.
So the design is already done, or does it still have to be done? I mean, completed.
It still has to be completed po, and we are hoping that this design, in partnership with DPWH and the OTR, is going to be more inclusive and more people-centric, ma'am.
Do you have a timeline
Yeah.
for that, Abigail?
Do you have a timeline? Oo.
Base po sa mga usapan kanina, may mga side chat po with the two secretaries from and as well as the staff and assistant secretaries. Really, it's an urgent matter, so they want it to be completed or rolled out by early next year, first to second quarter of 2026.
So, Abigail, masasabi mo ba na kung hindi sa pag-uudyok ng Move as One Coalition, hindi aaksyonan ng mga ahensya to? Hindi nila i-inspeksyonin ito, hindi nila gagawin if you did not take the initiative?
Ma'am, the civil society certainly played a role because not only Move as One, but as well as other mobility organizations really made sure that nabantayan po ng maigi kung paano po nagtutulungan ang dalawang ahensya na ito. For the longest time, DPWH and DOTR had two different routes or magkaiba po ang kanilang approach pagdating sa mobility ng mga tao. One agency
Wala silang synergy.
wala pong synergy before, but now we're riding on this moment wherein two secretaries of two relevant agencies for transportation are working together, and so we're maximizing this opportunity where both are aligned kung ano po dapat ang disenyo at kung saan po dapat patungo yung mga kalsada natin.
Real talk, Abigail, do you think matatapos ito by 2028? Because the fear there is pag nagpalit ng administrasyon, minsan yung mga priorities nagpapalit din. Are you looking to institutionalize this para hindi na siya pwedeng galawin ng kung sino mang bagong administrasyon or anything like that?
Yes, definitely, ma'am. The key to all of these efforts that are being started by our agencies is to institutionalize it. So we have pending bills that we're really looking forward to be passed before the end of this administration. One is the Magna Carta for commuters, and second is the Walkable and Bikeable Cities Act, which ensures that not only are our policies based on the Philippine Development Plan, but it's also based on legislation or an act na po mismo, meaning na hindi na po siya agencies and local government units can no longer deny it, and there is no other way but to adhere to these legislations.
Who's lobbying for you in Congress and in Senate? Do you have certain lawmakers already helping you with this? Para alam namin sino yung habulin din
Mga
namin.
champion ba? Ba champions of this bill?
Currently, in the Committee of Transportation for the House of Representatives, we have Kong Franz Pumaren. And then for the Committee on Transportation for the Senate we have Senator Tulfo, Rafi Tulfo. So those are the two champions that we are working on. We reach out to give our briefing materials and to get these legislations moving forward.
Okay. Abigail, I'd like to go back to the plan you were saying that Palafox is designing, no? Because I understand when Secretary Vince was still head of DOTR, he mentioned a design already funded, I think, by the ADB that exists. So, kailangan bang ng bagong design na naman? This was parang to green EDSA.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that this is the EDSA Greenways or the EDSA Greenways project
Yeah.
that had an approved budget from the ADB.
Yeah.
But we're technically speaking, ma'am, the loan
Outdated na ba o ano?
yung loan po na in-extend sa atin ng ADB already expired. So we have the place.
Why? Hindi na, kasi hindi nagamit, so wala na, paso na.
Yes po. Napaso na po siya. It was not initiated within the time frame that was required by the extender of the loan, ADB.
Oh.
Napatahimik kami
Oh,
lang.
dahil walang ano dyan, walang commission or something, anong nangyari?
Based on our experience or based on history, it really was in the lack of implementation before or hindi po nabigyan ng pansin or there were a lot of discussions with civil society as well, finalizing the design. But now we can see a political will with our current secretaries and heads of agencies.
And Architect Palafox is he did he volunteer his services, or did the government engage him? How is the arrangement?
Yes, the services of architect Palafox and the firm was engaged by government. So it was through a bidding process. So they were able to get the bid or win the bid. And what's good about architect Palafox and the firm is that they really constantly engage with civil society. So they have focus group discussions, and for every focus group discussion and for every auditing of the streets and our public transport infrastructure, lagi pong may invited na civil society representative or coming from the sectors.
All right. We thank you for talking to us and giving us, your perspective on what happened today in your walk. That was Abigail Modales, active transport lead of Move as One Coalition.
Right now, in other news, the Department of Justice found prima facie evidence to indict businessman Charlie Atong Ang and 25 others in connection with the missing Sabungeros case. Ang and his co-accused were charged with reasonable certainty of conviction on 10 counts of kidnapping with homicide. Ang and 9 others were also charged with 16 counts of kidnapping with serious illegal detention. The gambling tycoon's co-accused are mostly police officers tagged in the case. Actress Gretchen Barreto, who was initially mentioned during the preliminary investigation stage, is not on the list for charging. The missing Sabungeros cases underwent preliminary investigation after whistleblower Julie Patidongan tagged Atong Ang as the mastermind. Patidongan claimed the businessman ordered that the victims be killed and buried in Taal Lake. DOJ spokesperson Attorney Polo Martinez said the information will be filed before 3 courts: the regional trial courts of Lipa City, Santa Cruz, Laguna, and San Pablo, Laguna.
We're going to be pausing for another quick breather, but stick around because after that, we have updates from Thailand as the Southeast Asian Games officially kick off tonight. The details are ahead. Keep it here on One News.
Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. The Philippine peso sank to a fresh record low amid expectations the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will cut rates again this week. The local currency closed at 59.22 against the dollar, down 28.5 centavos from the previous session. The figure also slipped past the previous record low of 59.17 seen on November 12. The depreciation comes just days ahead of the BSP's final policy meeting on December 11th. The central bank is widely expected to deliver a 5th consecutive rate cut as economic growth slows and inflation remains below target. That's according to a Business World poll where 17 of 18 analysts expect a 25 basis point cut, while one forecasts a jumbo 50-point reduction. The BSP has so far lowered borrowing costs by 125 basis points since it began easing in August last year. It delivered a 25 BIPS cut at each of its meetings in April, June, August, and October.
All right, now on to sports. After weeks and months of waiting, the 2025 Southeast Asian Games officially kicks off tonight, and this marks the start of another major campaign for Team Philippines.
We were just talking, Pawi. This is the biggest delegation that we've ever had. 1,600 athletes.
1,600, imagine.
I
That's
can't
a lot.
imagine.
That's a lot, right? This is actually also the biggest SEA Games that we are seeing in recent years. We have a 1,600 strong delegation, and we have sports officials targeting 60 gold medals, hopefully good enough for a top 4 finish in this regional meet. Because the last time that we won as overall champions was way back 2019 when we hosted it on home soil. And after that, we finished top 5, you know, because usually if you're the host country, you have an advantage in
Yeah,
choosing
home
the sports and the
court
games, home court advantage. But hopefully for here in the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand, mag-top 4 tayo.
And what's exciting is we have so many of our like Olympic athletes also participating. Like, Alex Ayala is back and
For
she's
the first
playing-
time.
For the first time, right?
She's competing in the SEA Games for the first time. So
That's exciting.
that's exciting.
The most
Heidelin Diaz is
Googled
there.
Filipino.
Oh,
yeah?
yes.
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, that was our big picture for one night.
I wasn't here yet.
Was it?
I Googled it only.
Ah, okay, so you were one of those who Googled.
I think I was also absent that day. But anyway, who else is there? Kaloy Yulo, I suppose?
Kaloy Yulo is not in
Is
this
not?
edition, yeah, because they limited the gymnastics events to just one event per gymnast. So, medyo lugi naman si Kaloy, right? Because when you're a gymnast, you want to compete in a lot of events. So, for this one, Carlos Yulo begged off. But that's a chance for other gymnasts to shine.
tayo pumayag na ganun lang?
Eh, ganun talaga home
May
court
parang-
advantage eh.
Tsaka may parang thing yung SEA Games, di ba, na the host country can actually implement rules.
Rules, yeah.
Like
new
even in
rules.
basketball, there were some
Yes,
rules.
with the eligibility
ano,
rules.
favorable to
Yes.
you.
Or minsan parang they'll say, bawal yung
That's-
naturalized, isa
yeah,
lang pwede. It changes. Weird, di ba? I also got shocked.
Ganun talaga.
Ganun ba talaga?
Well, that's kind of ASEAN for you.
What does that mean?
Pagbigyan natin ng isa't isa, gano'n.
Actually, tama ka. It
Compromise.
reflects, no?
Diba?
Na magkakaiba talaga tayo ng ano. Sa may sariling marcha tayo lahat.
parang
Ganon. But there should be a standard, right? I mean, in the Olympics.
That's true.
Pero
they
ano
don't
bang,
change it.
yung opening, so I understand there were games already before the opening
Right,
ceremony.
because there are so many events, right? So many games happening. Some had to start early. So football started early, baseball, and even polo. But of course, a chunk of the events will be happening in the next 2 weeks.
There was also some hoo-ha about the outfits.
Yes.
Yes. No, I just forgot what.
For Team Philippines?
For Team Philippines. Tas maganda, and then they were like praising it online.
Yes. So
yeah.
the outfit they're wearing tonight is by Avel Bacudio.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
So super nice. Barong inspired. There are different embroidered sports embroidered onto the barong. Medyo uso yun ngayon, di ba? Like embroidered
Parang
barong.
textured, hindi flat
Yes.
yung barong, maraming mga
With cute designs.
burda-burda.
All right, and now in light of the opening ceremony of the 33rd SEA Games, tonight's big picture is Team Philippines donned in their official opening ceremony uniforms. We were just talking about that, but here it is. This is an ensemble designed by Avel Bacudio carrying the theme Laro ng Lahi. The modern barong features a hand-embroidered icon of, or icons rather, of classic Filipino games and tricolor details inspired by the national flag. Now, the pieces are made from Piñavel, a sustainable textile developed with the Science and Technology Department using indigenous fibers like bamboo, piña, abaca, and banana. The look is also completed with tricolor buttons and lightweight pants designed for comfort and performance. Now, around 1,600 Filipino athletes have marched in these uniforms at this year's SEA Games.
I love it. It looks like a parang tracksuit na barong.
Oo.
Diba?
Oo.
Ang cute.
Ang ganda.
Pagkagwardya si Bildin.
Yung dito.
Strike kasi siguro,
Yeah,
diba?
sporty kasi diba? Yung mga uso ngayon.
So that's nice. And our flag bearer is Alex Ayala and the volleyball star Brian Bagunas. So they will be representing us there in the opening ceremony.
Which is happening right now.
Right now, yes. And I heard it's going to be star-studded with Kai celebrities and performers. So abangan po natin yan. Oh, it's being aired also. It's being carried live on One Sports and Pilipinas Live. So if you want to tune in and support Team Philippines.
I was waiting for our live report.
Yes, Julia Vargas, our One Sports correspondent, was supposed to report, but I think signal is hard to get.
Pretty bad.
Inside the
Alright.
venue. Okay, but that will do it for us this Tuesday here on The Big Story. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. and we will see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.